What if the biggest difference between the people who seem naturally confident and everyone else isn't talent, intelligence, or experience, but a handful of tiny behaviors almost nobody notices? Think about the last time you walked into a room full of strangers. Maybe it was a meeting, a job interview, a party, or even a family gathering. Before you said a single word, people were already forming opinions about you. Were you approachable, competent, nervous, trustworthy? Here's what's fascinating. Most of those first impressions weren't based on what you said. They came from how you moved, stood, looked around, and responded to the people around you. The good news? Confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you communicate. And perhaps even more surprisingly, changing how you carry yourself can gradually change how you feel. Psychologists call this embodied cognition. The idea that your body doesn't just reflect your emotions, it can also influence them. Let's explore the subtle habits that make people appear calm, capable, and genuinely confident in almost any situation. Imagine you're waiting outside an interview room. Your heart is racing. You keep checking your phone. Your shoulders creep upward without you realizing it. You pace back and forth. Almost everyone has been there. What most people don't realize is that nervousness often becomes visible because the body starts searching for an escape. Small, repetitive movements, fidgeting, tapping your feet, rubbing your hands, can signal internal tension. These self-soothing behaviors are perfectly normal. They don't automatically mean someone lacks confidence. They're simply signs that the nervous system is trying to reduce stress. Here's the trick. Instead of trying to eliminate every movement, slow everything down. Stand with both feet comfortably planted. Relax your shoulders. Let your hands rest naturally at your sides or loosely together. When your movements become deliberate instead of rushed, people tend to perceive you as more composed, and your own body receives the message that the situation may not be as threatening as it first believed. But posture is only the beginning. Have you ever noticed someone who barely says anything, yet somehow commands the room? They don't interrupt. They don't rush. People simply pay attention when they speak. Why? One answer is timing. Many people think confidence means speaking quickly with lots of energy. In reality, rushing often communicates anxiety. Confident communicators aren't afraid of silence. They pause before answering. They finish one thought before jumping to the next. They allow conversations to breathe. Research on communication consistently shows that measured speech tends to increase perceptions of credibility and competence. Think about respected leaders, experienced teachers, or skilled negotiators. They rarely seem hurried. The next time someone asks you a question, resist the urge to answer instantly. Take one calm breath. That tiny pause doesn't make you look uncertain. It often makes you appear thoughtful. And that leads to another signal that's even more powerful. Eye contact is one of the most misunderstood parts of body language. Some people believe confidence means staring directly into someone's eyes without looking away. Actually, that's not confidence. It can feel intimidating or unnatural. On the other hand, constantly looking down or scanning the room may unintentionally signal discomfort. Psychologists who study nonverbal communication generally recommend balanced eye contact, comfortable, natural, and responsive to the conversation. Imagine talking with a new colleague. Instead of worrying about where your eyes should be every second, focus on truly listening. Notice their facial expressions. Look away naturally when thinking. Reconnect when making an important point. When your attention is genuinely on the other person instead of yourself, your eye contact becomes effortless. And here's something most people never notice. Confident people don't just make others feel seen. They make others feel heard. Picture two people telling exactly the same story. One keeps glancing around the room, waiting for someone more interesting to arrive. The other stays engaged, nods naturally, asks thoughtful questions, and reacts sincerely. Who seems more confident? Probably the second person. That's because confidence isn't only about projecting yourself. It's also about directing your attention outward. Social psychologists have long observed that anxiety often turns our focus inward. What do they think of me? Did I sound awkward? Am I standing strangely? But confident people shift the spotlight. What is this person trying to tell me? What emotion am I noticing? What question could I ask next? Ironically, the less obsessed you become with how you're being judged, the more relaxed and charismatic you usually appear. But there's another habit that quietly shapes first impressions before you've even spoken. Watch someone enter a room. Some people stop in the doorway. Others hesitate. They scan every face before moving. Then there are people who simply walk in at a comfortable pace, looking around with curiosity rather than fear. Notice something? None of this requires acting dominant. It simply requires moving with purpose. Behavioral researchers often refer to these as status signals, not signs of superiority, but signals that suggest someone feels comfortable occupying space. You don't need exaggerated power poses or dramatic gestures. While early research on expansive poses sparked widespread interest, later studies found mixed evidence about their effects on hormones. However, standing upright, avoiding collapsed posture, and moving with intention can still influence how others perceive you and how you experience the moment. So the next time you enter a meeting or social event, don't rush to disappear. Take in the room. Walk at a steady pace. Allow yourself to arrive. Sometimes confidence is simply refusing to apologize for existing. And finally, there's one habit that ties everything together. Have you ever met someone who made a small mistake and barely seemed bothered? Maybe they forgot a name, spilled a drink, lost their train of thought. Instead of panicking, they smiled, corrected themselves, and kept going. Strangely enough, they often seemed even more confident afterward. Why? Because real confidence isn't perfection. It's recovery. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman showed how our minds rely on quick impressions, but those impressions continue to evolve as we gather more information. One awkward moment rarely defines you unless you treat it as if it does. The truly confident person doesn't assume every mistake is a disaster. They know everyone gets nervous. Everyone says something awkward. Everyone has uncomfortable moments. The difference is that confident people don't build their identity around those moments. They move forward, and people usually move forward with them. Here's the hidden truth behind everything we've discussed. Confidence isn't a performance. It isn't pretending to be fearless. It isn't acting like you're better than everyone else. It's sending your brain and everyone around you a consistent message. I'm comfortable enough to be present. Relaxed posture, steady movements, balanced eye contact, thoughtful pauses, curious listening, graceful recovery from mistakes. None of these behaviors prove what someone is thinking or feeling on their own. Body language isn't mind reading. Context always matters, and it's best to look for patterns rather than isolated gestures. But when these habits come together, they create something powerful. People begin to trust you more. They listen more carefully. They feel more comfortable around you. And perhaps most importantly, you start believing in your own ability to handle whatever situation comes next. So here's a challenge. Over the next week, choose just one of these habits and practice it every day. Maybe it's slowing your movements. Maybe it's pausing before you speak. Maybe it's focusing completely on the person in front of you instead of worrying about yourself. Small changes repeated consistently often create the biggest transformations. If you've ever experienced one of these situations, let us know in the comments. Which confidence habit surprised you the most? And if you want to better understand people, improve your communication, and build real social intelligence, subscribe for more psychology insights. Because the more you understand human behavior, the more confidently you'll navigate every conversation and every room you walk into.